Hi friends, I'm Miss Elisa with St. Mary's County Library and welcome back to another Pint-Sized Playtime. As usual, I am bringing you different sensory activity ideas for babies and toddlers. This month, all of the ideas are spring themed or are extra messy. I figured it's a great time to go outside, set up your little one with a super messy project, and you don't have to worry so much about the cleanup because you're outdoors. So first up, we have our only mess-free activity of the day. We are going to be making a sensory butterfly. For this, you're going to take 2 gallon-sized freezer bags. You can take off any logo or decal from the bag with some rubbing alcohol and a cotton swab. From there, you're going to place your gallon-sized bags on top of one another and draw a butterfly wing with permanent marker. You're then going to cut out your wings. And then you're going to take some colored duct tape and tape up the edges, leaving a hole in each wing. From there, you're going to lay your wings side by side with a little bit of space in between them and put a piece of duct tape down to connect them. Then you're going to flip it over and put down some pipe cleaners for your antennae. Add another piece of duct tape. And now you have the shape of your butterfly, but now we have to make it into a sensory activity. So you can take glitter. I used small beads, but I would highly recommend using sequins if you have any for this. And you're just going to put whatever materials you choose into each of your wings through that hole you left open. From there, you're going to take some hair gel and put that into each of the wings. I eyeballed this. You do not need to use exact measurements. Use however much you need to incorporate the hair gel in with whatever materials you put into your wings. This way, your child should be able to push around the sequins or the beads through the hair gel. And then you're going to tape up those holes that you left open before. And now you have a mess-free sensory butterfly. Mine is not the neatest, but it's still really cute. You can hang it in a window so that they can see the light pass through the beads or the sequins, and it'll just make it that much more fun. Next up, I do this every season, but I think spring is probably my favorite season to do this activity in, and that is a spring themed sensory bin. We're gonna start off this activity as we usually do with this by going on a nature walk. So I want you to take your little one out into nature and ask them to collect things that they find, whether that be flowers, leaves, sticks, dirt, anything that they want to add to their sensory bin. While on this nature walk to collect materials for your sensory bin, turn it into a sensory activity. Ask them what colors they see, point out different colors, ask them what they hear, ask them what they smell, what they feel. Try to engage all 5 of their senses as much as possible during this nature walk, just to really up the learning factor of this activity. If they're old enough, you can ask them to compare the spring to the winter, spring to fall. What's different? What noises are different? What temperature is different? What do they see that's different? Try to extend your nature walk into a learning activity for your child and engage as many of their senses as possible. Once you return from your nature walk, take everything you've collected, put it in a bin, and let your child play. This can be especially good if you have a day of great weather and then the next day is stormy and rainy, which definitely happens in the springtime, because they can continue to play with nature inside the house, which is awesome. Obviously, if they bring dirt or other messy materials into the house, be a little bit more careful, but this is a great springtime sensory activity. Now we're gonna get into the super messy sensory activities. First up, we have dish soap silly putty. So did you know you can make your own silly putty? All you need is dish soap and cornstarch. You're going to take about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 1.5 tablespoons of dish soap, mix it together, and you will get a little ball of silly putty. If it's a little clumpy or grainy, you can add more dish soap. You will know when you get the correct texture. Just a warning, this silly putty is really sticky. It will get all in between your hands. It is not like normal silly putty where it returns back to its ball really cleanly. This is why I would highly recommend doing this outside, because it can become a mess. You can make as much or as little of this as you'd like. It's really only good for one use, but it's really easy to make and it only takes a few minutes. I would just highly recommend using this outside. As usual, let your baby or toddler play with it. If they don't like the way it feels and they have a real aversion to it, don't force them to play with it. Just move on to another sensory activity. This is definitely one of those that some kids, especially those kids that like to stay clean, are not going to enjoy. Next up, we have an activity that you can do in a couple of different ways. Some ways much messier than others. This is a gardening sensory bin. So you can either take a bin of mulch or potting soil, dirt, or like I did, black beans, just to reduce the mess a little bit. And I had these little planting pots, but you can just use little cups or bowls, and you can place seeds or other kinds of beans into these bowls, and then you can give your kids shovels, spoons, and different things to dig. And then they can play in their own little garden. They can bury the different seeds, they can dig them up, you can give them some water so that they can water their garden. Obviously, this is an activity where you will want to pay close attention just because beans are a choking hazard, but this is really fun, especially if you like to garden and you know, want them to garden too, but maybe don't want them to play in your flower beds. This is a great activity because now they have their own little garden that they can play with and make a big mess if they want, and it doesn't actually affect your plants and flowers. Last up, we have edible mud. So the easiest way to do this is if you have some extra brownie mix or some chocolate pudding mix, you can just make that, put some gummy worms in it, and call it edible mud, put it in a bowl, and let them play with it. But if you don't have brownie mix or pudding mix, you can make your own. You'll need a cup of flour, 1/3 of a cup of cocoa powder, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/3 of a cup of white sugar, a little bit of chocolate syrup if you'd like, and a cup of water. Then you're just going to mix it together and you're going to get mud. You can add flour or cocoa powder if you'd like to make it thicker. You can add water if you want to make it thinner. Throw in some gummy worms if you'd like to make it more mud-like. But then just let them squeeze their fingers into it. Give them spoons, give them shovels, let them dig. It's edible mud, so really they can just do whatever they'd like with it. It does taste like brownie mix. It is completely edible, but it's for them to play with. So I would definitely recommend setting them up outside because this could definitely get really messy. So those are all of my spring themed sensory ideas. As usual, if you do try out any of these activities, please take pictures and tag the library in them. We would love to see them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next month. Bye!